full meeting with the all-new council, but the second meeting technically, because somebody was missing at the first meeting of the month. I don't know who that was. But it was way warmer than it was here. All right, we're going to start off, we're going to stand for the invocation, which will be Vice President Afa. Then we're going to have the pledge to the flag. Please remain standing.
I'm sorry, I had no idea it was getting. So how about if we all just bow our heads and have a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Hamlin, I see roll call is on here.
Everyone's present.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start off with courtesy of the floor. We made a couple of rule changes in courtesy of the floor, and we decided this year we're going to do it alphabetical. H's will be up in September, so you guys can prepare. No, this year, September of this year. You're good. You have 9 months to prepare. That's just a joke. Okay, courtesy of the floor. Please state your name and where you come up.
She sat down.
Jenny Kesho, Allentown. Last month when I was here, I questioned about the ordinance about addresses being visible on the homes and apartment buildings. Has there anything been are they doing anything about that?
I'm unaware of anything, but we will find out, possibly.
There's an ordinance, it's in the property rehab code, I think, somewhere. It's a requirement.
Okay, I think your suggestion was though that they'd be on the rear of the property also.
No.
No?
No, just the front.
Okay. Maybe we should, Mr. Hanlon, we can look at that ordinance, bring it back out.
You did say that last month, that they were gonna look into it.
That was that Ray O'Connell guy.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, we'll bring it up.
Hi, Amber Clark, Allentown, Pennsylvania. I was here in September and to talk about school bus safety. I brought an issue about people violating the school bus passing laws and what was happening. And I was told by then Council President that there was nothing that could be done by City Council, so I went and did some homework of my own. Since September, I've spoken over the phone to state heads, Department of Transportation heads for the states of Alabama, Connecticut, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington, and Ohio. I've spoken to the Allentown School District, Head of Transportation Diane Notek, State Representative Pete Schweier, and Chief Dorney over the phone. In person, I've had meetings with the Allentown School Board. Lisa Conover, she's recently elected to the school board and she's in charge of safety. I've met with David Wildonger, Joe Kelly, who is Chief of Staff for Senator Piscola's office. I've met personally with Phillips Armstrong, Mark Pinsley, State Representative Mike Schlossberg, and Senator Pat Brown. So what I found was a no-cost solution to the entire state. And right now, Senator Pat Brown and Mike Schlossberg are both co-sponsoring a bill. It is called Enabling Legislation. With your permission, I have a handout for you guys. Can I give it out? I'll give it at the end. What that's going to allow is it will allow a civilian camera company to issue monetary citations to the public. This current legislation is in force in Philadelphia with the red light cameras. And 15 other states have this legislation on the books, and New York and New Jersey are 16 and 17. They are starting the process as well. It is enabling legislation, so it's not going to mandate that any school district do it. It's just going to be an option. And there are camera companies out there that if this legislation is in place, they will provide the cameras at no upfront cost. So the original $112,000 that I had done a cost analysis for just the district of Allentown would be zero. Their cost is the camera company would keep a small percentage of the fines that are generated from these cameras. They administrate everything. It's no additional work for the police force. And I spoke with Chief Dorney about this idea, and he's very excited because, as we all know, Allentown is short police officers and stretched pretty thin. So it's an advantage for them as well with regards to enforcement. And again, no cost. And many of the states, one of them, Alabama, they distribute the remaining funds to the school district, law enforcement, the State Department of Education, and victims funds. So that's what I've been working on, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. So at whatever point the bill gets passed and Governor Wolf signs off on it, that y'all know what's going on, and hopefully you'll be behind this safety initiative to keep our students and pedestrians safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You say the state legislature is passing this law.
Yes, they're currently writing a co-sponsorship memo that they're going to be sending out to the rest of the senators and the state representatives to get backing. And they had a meeting on January 3rd with the Pennsylvania State Bus Association, the School Bus Association, lobbyists, all their lawyers, and they addressed the privacy issues and moved through them, and they feel confident that it'll pass. So.
Very good, thank you.
Can I hand out
I think we have a question.
I have a question. You said
Yes.
the civilians are going to be issuing the tickets?
A civilian camera company, so like a camera company.
Like the red light cameras in Philadelphia.
Okay. What kind of training are they going to have to do that? Because as far as I know, a civilian can't issue a traffic citation.
Well, how the process works, and it'll be on the handout, is this is my drawing, and my 5-year-old could probably do a better job. But this is the school bus, right? This is the front of the school bus with the lights. And there would be, where the stop arm camera is, there would be 2 little picture cameras, 2 instead of 1, because currently Pennsylvania doesn't require license plates on both the front and the backs of vehicles, so there would have to be 1 for each direction. Then constant feed video cameras on the front and back corners of the bus. The system comes equipped with a button for the driver because I don't know if you know, but in order for only a bus driver or a police officer can report a violation, and they have to get the physical description of the driver, the make and model color of the car, the license plate, the intersection, and the time that it occurred, all while trying to ensure the safety of the children. It's near impossible to do, and some bus drivers even carry their cell phone cameras on their laps, which isn't safe either. So this button, what this button does is the driver sees a violation, they hit it, and that marks the video feed, right? The marked videos can then be retrieved easily with software. The camera company then sends those videos to law enforcement, who then determines if a violation occurred. They let the camera company know, Bob Jones, that was a violation, and then they go ahead. So they don't issue the citations until law enforcement has decided it's a violation.
That's pretty much based on information received then?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson.
Ms. Clark, I just want to say thank you for the work you've done on this. Having been involved in citizen issues like this in the past, the level of research you're doing is quite high. And I have spoken with both Representatives Schlossberg and Schweier. So once a bill has been created, I would suggest that you come back here and you go back to everyone you've spoken with, all governmental bodies, and see about resolutions of support. I know I'd be happy to sponsor one here.
Thank you. I made it myself. Oh, thank you. I mean, I have a lot of energy. I made it myself, so it's not 5 color nice. Oh, sure.
Hey, Mr. Hirschman, you're 8 months early here.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my name is Lou Hirschman, 405 North Gilbert Street, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And the first item on my agenda this evening is the rainwater tax. I would like that city council to, since we're gonna look at an ordinance for this woman, look at this rainwater tax. I don't think disabled veterans should be paying this tax, and there's many nonprofits should not be paying the tax. And I think what council should do is consider looking into calling a meeting of nonprofits, and the nonprofits that can afford this tax pay, and the ones that can't afford it should not pay. Should draw up an exemption somehow, so the ones that can't afford to pay don't pay. And have appoint some committee. And when the city of Allentown gonna transfer that $500,000 that's they owe on the rainwater tax. You know, we're gonna have to pay $500,000. I don't know where we're gonna get the money, Mr. President. And I think Council President should find out when administration plans to transfer that money to pay for this tax, because I'm sure we're gonna be getting our tax bills in about 2 weeks, and they're gonna ask us to pay, and the city should be responsible to pay their $500,000. Are you gonna find out, Mr. President, because I saw on your agenda, you're gonna get answers to questions now.
That's what we plan on doing.
Okay.
I don't know if Mr. Hartzell wants to tackle that right now, or I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, we are aware that we need to do that. The total amount, as he has talked about before, actually a little over $250,000. It's still, that's not a small sum by any means. And yes, the city will be paying that. We will bring amendment to the budget forward for you at the appropriate time to make sure that we also are paying the bill from general fund into the stormwater fund.
I think everybody's looking forward to that tax being paid. And Mr. Chairman, what's happening here with the finance, the finance chairman hasn't called a meeting in 2 months now, and the November report is late. Nobody knows what the financial condition of the city is, because the November report hasn't been made. And in beginning of November, the 5-year financial plan of the city of Allentown should have been made public. None of these things have been done. So, Mr. Chairman, since the new regime, possibly this consideration should be given that things should be done more in a timely manner, which shouldn't be done. I don't know, maybe Mr. Gaviti can tell you why he didn't call a meeting for 2 months, because he was always prompt, the way I knew him, he was always prompt calling meetings. What's the delay, Mr. Gaviti? I mean, Mr. President should ask you, I thought I was the one.
As you know, Mr. Hartzell was not here at that time when we were going to have a meeting, so we postponed the meeting. He's here now, and we're going to have a meeting on
Well,
Wednesday.
Mr. Hartzell, I have to be here for you to have the November report.
We'll have a meeting without the director of finance.
Why couldn't the November report be made public a month ago?
Good, if you want it. It'll be made public.
It's not made public, we haven't got it. It's not made public.
Can you make?
Yeah, I will speak to that. The aim was, December 15th was my last day in the office, to get it out on the day of my departure, and we were into the portion of the year in which absences were starting to happen due to the holidays. There were portions of that data that needed to be checked the following week. I was not in the office to do it. I am very stubborn when it comes to being sure that I have quality checked everything that's in that report. And when it became obvious that we weren't going to get together and have something ready during the time that I was away, and Mr. Hirschman's comment is very appropriate, by the way. This needs to be done in a timely manner, and I accept that fully. I have the December first draft in my queue, and I am getting it out the door tomorrow at close of business. I will be submitting the November report to you as part of that submission, so you'll have the November and December together. I made the decision that I didn't want to put 2 reports out within just a few days of each other, and I would just send them together so you can see the whole package all together. And that's the rationale behind it.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzell. Appreciate it. So you get it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a budget and finance meeting on the 24th.
January, make sure it's January.
January. Oh, you know that, I don't have to tell you.
You can wait until September when you come back.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Keller, 2726 First Street, Allentown. I'd just like to close the loop on the discussion I had with you all back in December about the right-to-know request, where the city was billing me $892.25 to review city budgets and comprehensive annual financial reports. Subsequent to that meeting, when you all spoke with Ms. Wild, I received a call from the solicitor's office the next day, and after some discussion about claims that my request was burdensome and that we should be beginning to gather the data and have me in the city hall the next week, and to schedule several days over which I could acquire the information, I made clear what the scope of my request was. And within 2.5 hours, I was in City Hall at a table with the documents. I spent less than 2 hours in City Hall, and I estimate about 1 hour and 45 minutes photographing the documents that I wanted, for a total of 244 images. So I thank the solicitor's office for being able to provide those documents within a 2.5-hour time window. Subsequent to that, with the 244 images, if I had been billed for that, that would have been $61, not $892.25. And the reason I requested review instead of a specific copying of those individual pages was I didn't know which particular pages those were on the budgets or CAFERs, and since the budget format changes on a regular basis. So I have all my documents, I have not had to pay any fees, and I would like to thank everybody involved for helping to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's good to hear that you got what you needed.
Good evening, Carrie Holmes, Allentown resident, and greetings to all of City Council. I'm Chair of the Rising Sun Initiative, and I wanted to first just come this evening to thank City Council for their longtime support of the Black History Month celebration that happens here at City Hall. First of all, let me say my regards and acknowledgement to President McLean and Vice President Atha for their leadership appointments, and extend my individual and personal invitation to yourselves and all of your colleagues on City Council to the 4th annual Black History Month celebration. I want to also ensure that the emails and invitation in the flyer gets to each of you. We have forwarded that to Ms. Joanna and to your colleagues that we owe a great debt of gratitude to for their support. Councilwoman Cynthia Voda, who provided the initial impetus for seeing the first year celebration happen, and we thank her and owe her a great debt of gratitude for that. And also to Councilman Garritti for his continual and very ardent support of the celebration. So thank you very much. We did also want to just share with you that key African American churches, including our historic churches, St. James, AME Zion, Union Baptist, and a number of others from the city of Allentown will be represented, and their leaders will be here, as well as executive members of the NAACP as a needful organization here for the African American community and community at large. We will be commemorating the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, and we thought it might be appropriate to honor his life and legacy with the theme Keepers of the Dream. There will be a number of youth that will be presenting as well, and I'm sure that all of you have enjoyed the program in the past. We look forward to seeing you again, and we are very open to any elements of participation or presentation that you would like to include. And finally, we will have for you our names and bios of the African American community members that have made some outstanding achievements to forward to you, and ask that you would provide them with a proclamation and allow the city to honor them. And of course, if there's any questions, we will make sure that our contact information is available. But once again, this is the 4th annual year, and we really appreciate the help and support and just the camaraderie of City Council that we felt over these last couple of years, and that you guys have showed to welcome diversity from all sectors of our community, and especially on behalf of the African American community. I do thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on February 2nd, Friday evening, 6 to 9 p.m.
Thank you very much, Ms. Holmes.
Thank you.
Ken Lonso, 721 West Cumberland Street. Now that it's winter season and we've gone to the street plowing, I have something I want to bring to City Council's attention. We have streets that don't get plowed in a timely manner. However, the walking path at Trexler Park and at the Rose Garden are plowed before city streets. And that, to me, the priority there is backwards. In the last several years with the major snowstorms, I know for a fact, because I drove by them and checked them out, that in the major storm 2 years ago, the day after the storm, that Sunday, Trexler Park was plowed. I got calls in my job about city streets not being open because they thought that the state might have been able to help. Now, the priority, I understand the Parks Department is responsible for the west end of Allentown, but after those streets are plowed, if there's other streets that need to be opened, they should be going there, not plowing the walking path of Trestle Park, which I heavily used, or the walking path at the Rose Garden, which again, I also heavily use. That's recreational. That's way down on the priority list from something the taxpayers in the city of Allentown expect to have their streets opened up. Thank you.
Mr. Lonsawyer, I'm in charge of the Public Works Committee. I will speak to Mr. Messinger about that at my earliest convenience.
Thank you.
Good evening. H2, it's September, isn't it? Glenn Hunter, Green 44 South 11th Street. Want to welcome all the new members. We're back again for 2018. I just want to say a few things about the financial report, like H1 said. Basically, we have to do a little better job on the timeliness of our reports and our transparency in these reports. And it's council's duty to do this, along with the financial committee chairman, to bring these reports in a timely manner. It's been for the last 5 years that I can remember, December was always like nobody was here. I mean, these financial reports are important at the end of the year, especially, because that leads into the CAF report, which is my main theme tonight, is basically the CAF report should be done in a timely manner. It's supposed to be done on the 30th of June. And in the last 5 years, I think it was presented to the public about the first week in August. There's no need for that. Especially when they get an award. Every year there's a page in there that says that. And it's basically from the Government Financial Officers Association. Gives the city of Allentown an award for being late, I guess. Plus, we don't audit the capital projects in detail at all. There's a summary page in there that says the starting amount of money and the ending money for the end of the year. These are areas which are critical to where money can be missing. So, council has to work through the committee, through Mr. Hartzell, and do what they can to get these reports in a timely manner. That's all I'm saying, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and I see that Mr. Garidi has taken copious notes. Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Courtesy of the floor? Didn't wake you up, did we?
Good evening, Mr. O'Connell. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Roger. Don Ringer, 1801 Liberty Street, Allentown, Pennsylvania. I saw in the newspaper today where the mayor was trying to bring in Mr. Mueller as a head of the city here. And I have nothing against Mr. Mueller at all when I say this, but I can't believe that you people are gonna let Edward bring somebody in here to the city when Edward is facing 54 counts of whatever misconduct. I think this should be done after his trial at the earliest. I don't think he should be allowed to put people in place right now. And I think that I would ask council to consider that with his impending trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ringer. Anyone else? Seeing no one, Mr. Hamlin, approval of minutes, common consent? Okay, old business. I think this was brought to our attention by Mr. Hirschman that in the future we will compile a list of questions raised at council meetings and/or other forums and provide answers and address the issue at the next council meeting under old business. So that's one of the changes it's a simple change that we made. So like the next council meeting, we should have an answer on we should have the ordinance on the house numbers in the Public Works Committee, and we can put forward when the meeting is going to be and how we're going to move forward on that. So hopefully we can have all those questions addressed at the next meeting at the latest. Reports from committees.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I had something under old business.
Okay, I'm sorry, open it up to the guys for full business. Go ahead, Mr. Robbins.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Hartzell, do we have a status update on hiring the 2 new paramedics that were in the budget?
I am aware, Councilman Robinson, that the position requests have been, I was speaking with Mr. Gratz earlier today, that the requests to hire, to fill, he has completed. That's what I know at this point. As to where that is in the process, I do not know, but he has completed that process.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Hartzell.
You're welcome.
My apologies to my colleagues. Anybody else under old business? Okay, reports from committees. Budget and Finance, Mr. Greedy.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has not met since the last council meeting. A future meeting is scheduled for January 24th at 6 o'clock. There will be monthly finances for the 2 months that were discussed today, and the meetings will be held continuously as our regularly scheduled 4th Wednesday of the month with provided agenda items. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Community and Economic Development, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has not met since the last council meeting. However, there is a meeting scheduled for February 14th at 6 p.m., and I will personally take responsibility for anyone's spouse or significant other who is angry about that. We will have an agenda that will follow. The committee is going to continue to meet. Its regularly scheduled meetings will be on the 2nd Wednesday of every month. And just a quick update as to some things with the committee. Speaking with my colleagues who will serve on the committee, Councilman Greedy and Councilwoman Affa, one thing that we are going to start doing again is resurrecting the committee going out into the city for informational meetings. So these will not be official meetings where we will have agenda items, but we are going to go out to different employers throughout the city, neighborhoods, neighborhood groups, and get out into the community once again to try and look at what's going on directly in the neighborhoods. So I would ask if any members of the public, any of my colleagues, or any members of the administration have any suggestions as to something you think that we should see, please let me know. Also, in terms of a focus for the committee, we are going to be looking at a lot of housing issues, and I can just say in response to Mrs. Ketchell's remarks that we're also going to find out who's supposed to be enforcing that provision, and if it's anything under the purview of community and economic development, I can guarantee that the committee is going to be looking into that and seeing how we can increase those enforcements. If it's someone else, then it's their responsibility. But, so that's going to be basically the agenda and the long-term focus for community and economic development for 2018. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Human Resources Administration and Appointments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has not met since the last council meeting, and a future meeting has not been scheduled yet.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has not met since the last council meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for February the 7th. Time is to be determined.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Mr. Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met tonight at 5 o'clock. And at that time, the city's policy on take-home vehicles was reviewed. There were some changes made. However, we realized that there's other changes that need to be made. So hopefully in the near future, we'll have another meeting, none scheduled as of yet, to make those changes and resubmit it.
Thank you very much. Public Works, Mr. Zuckel.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has not met since last council meeting. A future meeting has not yet been scheduled. But I just wanted to throw out an attaboy to the streets department and all those employees that were plowing today and last night. I don't know if you have noticed, but the streets were pretty clear this time, so they were on top of it right from the start. So I think they deserve an attaboy for that. And I will be meeting with the department heads on Friday. Most of the public works department heads come under public works per se. So I'll be able to report in the future some ideas and plans that we have and ways to handle complaints that the citizens have to get the jobs done we need to get done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Zuckel. Rules Chambers, Intergovernment Relations and Strategy, that's me. We have not met since the last meeting. We have a meeting scheduled for January 24th at 5 p.m. to review and amendment the council rules. That amendment will be introduced tonight, and it's resolution number 6. Now we go to the city controller's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two reports for council and the public this evening. And just to remind everyone, the controller's reports are available on the website. You can download them as a PDF in the comfort of your own home. The first one is the accounts payable weekly check review that for the time period December 2nd till December 22nd, 2017. In that time period, we reviewed 487 checks. The total dollar amount of the checks reviewed was a little bit less than $2.5 million. 12 wires with a value of about $1.3 million. Two major issues that we encountered in this time period was when writing checks, there were 21 instances of what we felt was an incorrect expense account used. Now, part of this is just the end of the year, and people go to where the money is instead of doing a transfer. All the departments were advised, a number of journal entries were done, and there will be some advice going forward. I will be meeting with Mr. Hartzell and Ms. Bowman tomorrow to discuss this, because we've been calling the departments out on this more when we review the checks every week. And hopefully with the new head of purchasing, we'll have some conversations in March or April or May, and hopefully involve the department heads so that we can make some changes for the 2019 budget, which will result in a much more transparent budget, and where all expenses are recognized, but also recognized in the proper accounts. The other major issue we ran into this month was untimely payment of invoices. Sometimes things get busy, we pay invoices late. There were 20 instances within that time period. All the departments were advised. Some were caused by vendor issues, some may have been caused by the department, and once again, everyone is working to make sure things get paid in a timely manner. The second report I have for you this evening is a contract revenue receivable report, and this is part 2. On July 31st of the last year, a partial report was issued for 18 of 27 vendor contracts reviewed. There are still a number of contracts that administration has not been able to provide for us, and they are Adams Outdoor Advertising, Service Electric, Verizon, Baum School of Art, Coca-Cola, RCN, Health Network Labs, Moser Family Village. There were 2 that we did get contracts for. One was Transbridge Lines, which runs the bus station at 3rd and Hamilton. And there's one for PPL Utilities. And there's also a contract we did get a little bit late for the Hamilton Family Restaurant. The city leases some property there for a parking lot, which does in fact have 22 spaces. With regards to the bus station, we note that rent was not paid in compliance with the lease agreement. Per the agreement, if leasee exercises an option to extend the lease beyond the original term, which they've done, the lease was supposed to go up by CPI. Using the CPI index, we calculated the rent for the period from November 1st, 2010 through November 1st, 2017 to be $60,098.79. The total amount paid was $57,600, a difference of $24,98.79. We recommend that a request for the underpaid rent should be made going forward. Rent should be assessed in accordance with the lease agreement. The administration responds that they will review the rental lease agreement and based on CPI, calculate the incremental rent and request the tenant pay the underpaid amount. Going forward, rent will be assessed per the rental lease agreement. We also noted that there's a lack of standard interest and penalty rate guidelines, and we've made this note before. Not every contract, or not every contractor pays within the prescribed time. Some agreements have late fees, not all do. And this is truly something that should be uniform for all city contract receivables, whether we do it by ordinance or whether it is done by ordinance, or whether it is just done in every contract, in the same place to provide some uniformity. Had that been there, this contractor would have been responsible for a number of late fees. The administration will review their responses. The administration will review and take the necessary actions. As previously reported in 2016, payments were received from the Hamilton Family Restaurant parking lot. The payments appear to be for leasing the parking lots. The administration at that point could not identify the administrator nor locate the contract lease agreement. And since at that point no contract or lease agreement could be located, the terms of the contract lease agreement could not be verified. Finally, on December 5th of 2017, the contract lease agreement, as of December 5th, the contract lease agreement had not yet been obtained. Once again, we recommend that the contract be obtained so that we can ascertain whether it's being agreed to. Finally, the administration did provide a copy of the contract, and it was provided after the preliminary audit report was issued. Upon receipt of the information requested, and on the other outstanding 8 contracts, all results, including that contract, the Hamilton FAM contract, will be reviewed and released. In July of 2008, PP&L entered into an agreement of sale with the city of Allentown, which included the transfer and assignment to the city of the right and interest of a lease previously held with the Allentown Parking Authority. This is for a parking lot in the 300 block of North 9th Street. Although the assignment of the lease was located, the original Allentown Parking Authority lease agreement could not be located by the administration. The original lease agreement should provide detail of the provisions of the payment, insurance, and all other covenants contained in the lease. Without this information, it is unclear which party's fiscal and operational responsibilities are. Finance director will contact the APA immediately to secure a copy of the original lease document. Most of these agreements require some kind of insurance. We were unable to verify adequate or any in-force insurance for Transbridge for part of the time period. The administration provided the current year policy and will continue to ensure compliance with the rental lease agreement. The hours that the bus terminal was open was not in agreement with the lease. It's not off by much, but there was a process that was to be gone through, and apparently it was not gone through. We recommend that Transbridge should be reminded of the terms of their contract, and the administration should ensure compliance with the contract. The administration responds that they will remind the tenant of the terms of the agreement. Once again, this stuff is online, and if the council has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Mr. Glazer, any questions from council? Mr. Herzog.
I want to thank Mr. Glazer for the work that he and his team are doing. I want to make that very clear. As you can see, he keeps my department very busy on a regular basis, and all of this is very important. The one thing I wanted to say, however, in line of the meeting that I'm having with him tomorrow, is I disagree. I take exception with the statement that what we're doing at the end of the year is trying to rate other accounts deliberately to try to pay off certain things. I don't think that is at all what we are intending to do, that we budget with the clear intent of what we are going to do during the course of the year, and naturally over 12 months. There are certain expenses that are likely to come in greater than what we budgeted, and some that would come in less. And I do take exception to that, because I think the deliberate attempt is that we do try to budget accurately and put everything that we can into the appropriate accounts. I will also say that he and I have had some good discussions about the nature of what types of expenses should fall within a given accounts number. And I think that there has been historically, from one agency to another, perhaps a little difference in how one department would take a given expense and put it in one category, and another would put it in a different category. And Mr. Glazer's admonishment is a good one, that we need to come up with a set of standards, I think, citywide, so we're all in agreement as to what accounts certain expenses should come out of. I'm totally in agreement with him on that, and if that's something that we can get dealt with in the spring, that we can incorporate into the 2019 budget process, I am all for it and hoping that we can do so.
Thank you, sir.
Just to respond briefly, Mr. Hartzell's been a good partner with the Controller's Office, and we look forward to working together going forward. As far as things at the end of the year, perhaps I overstated, but I will say that with a little bit of foresight on the department's part, transfers could be made in a timely manner, and some of these, pulling from a not proper account would certainly be avoided. Thank you.
I'm sure you guys will have that discussion tomorrow at your meeting.
I'm sure we'll probably have it many times.
Mr. Green, sure.
In regards to the report and the discussion that was going on, and I have been asked by some members in the audience to see if there's a way that we can do the transfers, especially doing the financial report and what line items any transfer comes from and where it's going, and is that something that we can incorporate in the report as well? Because I know we signed transfer, we signed a number of them today, but I don't know if the public gets to see that.